Hi, my name is Emily Iannielli, and I am a male to female transgender girl, and I am trying to make videos for all of the transgender girls out there who are looking for help and support in their transition and to gain insight by seeing someone who's going through the transition. I'm into my third year now of transitioning. I had started on hormone replacement therapy in June of 2012, so I'm nearing the 3 year mark, and I started living full time as a woman in September of 2012. So, about 2.5 years now, living as a woman 24/7. I've had some setbacks in my life. The hardest part of my becoming open with regard to my gender situation was that I lost my job and fell into financial hardship, and I struggled with my gender dysphoria and severe depression, which wound me up in the hospital because I had a nervous breakdown as a result of losing my job and trying to tackle my gender dysphoria struggle and dealing with my transition and with my family. And it was all compounded, and it was very hard for me to sort everything out. The hardest part was when I started getting the phone calls from the mortgage company. I took initial steps by notifying them that I had lost my job and that I would most likely fall behind on the payments. So I was asking if they could help me with a plan that could alleviate the stress. And unfortunately, we couldn't work out any plan. We couldn't do a loan modification, and we couldn't do a loan repayment plan. So I got stuck, and I'm always receiving these threatening letters and phone calls, which I cannot take, and it's landed me in the hospital many times. I've been in the psych hospital for suicide attempts on several occasions, but I'm trying to fight my depression and be strong because I have a son who's autistic, 16 years old, who needs me in his life. And it's been hard for me to live and transition and be the right father for my son. Life isn't easy, and it's not always what we expect it to be. I knew that in my life I had struggles and that I felt very different. I wasn't born in a way that most people are. When I was 3, I knew something wasn't correct with me. I knew that my body didn't match the way I felt about myself. I knew I was born a boy, but I knew also that I was a girl in my heart. So it was very difficult for me to live a normal life, and I felt very awkward and depressed, and I was very sad, and I didn't quite understand why I had these feelings. If I was born a boy, why didn't I just feel like a boy? I couldn't figure it out. Didn't make sense to me that I knew I was a boy, but I felt like I was a girl. And it was a very hard situation to deal with. And all I really knew was that I was very scared, and I didn't want to tell anybody. I was very afraid to open up and share my secret with my family, with anyone. It was very hard for me, but I dealt with it on my own terms, and I tried to do the best that I could. Um, the only thing that I regret is that I never did tell my mom or my dad of my gender struggle, and they're no longer with us. So I feel very guilty that I couldn't tell the truth to them. And I also feel sad that my mom never got to see my son. She died before I even married. Luckily, my dad had 10 good years with my son. So I tried to do all the right things growing up. I tried to live a typical male life. I focused on my school studies and athletics, and I wanted to be, conscientious and to be responsible and to focus on what I had to. I knew that my parents wanted me to go to college and they were going to help me, and I had to figure out what I wanted to study. Excuse me. And I knew that engineering was something that I was interested in. I had an affinity towards math and science. So when I enrolled in the local community college, I majored in the 2-year program of engineering science, which was the pre-engineering curriculum for a 4-year degree, where I eventually would have to specialize in a specific branch of engineering. So I studied the first 2 years at Nassau Community College, and then I transferred from there to Virginia Tech, where I studied mechanical engineering. And I was so busy studying and getting used to my new home that I had no time to think about my transgender struggles, although I still managed at times to cross-dress, and I wanted to do it in public, but I couldn't because I didn't feel comfortable enough. I didn't have the confidence. But I was definitely still struggling with my gender identity, and I knew that I would have to confront it one day. I knew it wasn't the right time in college because I had too many other things to worry about. Excuse me again. And I had to make sure that my grades were up to par. And I was studying on a regular basis, and I was in the labs and at the library, so it was a lot of work. And it did keep my mind occupied, which was helpful. And then I went on with my education to pursue accounting. So I had a combination degree in engineering and accounting. and I studied accounting at Hofstra. And then I went out into the workforce, started working, and I tried to live the way I was supposed to as a male. I was very shy. I never had dating relationships. Basically, I just worked, and I was home with my dad and my mom. I graduated from college in 1985. I lost my mom in 1990. So I was 29 when I lost her. She was 49. And it was very difficult for me. And I struggled. And it was so very sad when you lose someone very close to you, especially your mom. It really hurts. And I didn't go into therapy right away, but one of the reasons I did go into therapy a few years later was because I was still struggling with my mom's death, and I was also struggling with my gender dysphoria. So I had a lot of things on my mind. Plus, I was very concerned for my dad because he was struggling with depression, and also he worked in a very hard and very physically demanding job as an iron worker. So he was dealing with a lot of stress, emotionally and physically, and he was alone, and he missed my mom, obviously, his wife. So I was with him at home because I wasn't prepared to go on my own yet. My two sisters had already left the house and moved on, but I stayed with my dad, and I couldn't express my dressing in the house, or I did secretly, and I never told my dad or my mom for that matter when she was still living. But it was hard, and I was trying to be there for my dad, who was struggling with drinking also because of the nature of his business and the pressures. He needed that. It was very hard for him. So I tried to be a support system for him, but it was, not so easy. And I knew that he was fighting this drinking problem, which was very hard for the whole family. Even when my mom was alive, it really took a toll on her and the family. So eventually my dad had to go to AA meetings, and he had some really bad instances where he had to be hospitalized, and then he was referred to a drug and alcohol rehabilitation clinic in Newport, Rhode Island, where he spent 30 days. So I was trying to be strong for my dad, but inside I was fighting my own battle with my gender dysphoria, and I knew in my heart that eventually I would have to face that, and I really knew that when the time was right that I was going to transition, but I just wasn't sure when that would be. And through the course of going for therapy, I spoke about a lot of things. I remember speaking about my mom and how her death affected me and how much I loved her. I also spoke about my dad and his struggles and his battling with alcohol, and how he was very lonely and depressed. And I explained about my difficulties in sharing my secret with my family. I just felt that it wasn't the right thing to do, and I didn't know how it would affect my dad especially. Certainly I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I kept my inner struggle to myself. It wasn't easy, but I thought that was the best thing to do. And we make our choices and we try to protect others. That's essentially what I was trying to do. I didn't want to tell my dad because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. So I tried to be brave and just keep it within and try to make the best of it. Though I did cry a lot. I was crying since I was a 3-year-old, desperately wanting to live as a girl. And, I've always felt that way. And when you know in your heart that you're transgender and you are truly a girl, even though you were born a boy, sooner or later you just have to come to accept who you are and embrace it, because what's the point? I didn't want to live and be something that I really wasn't. I didn't want to be miserable. I wanted to find my own happiness, and I wanted to share it with any other people. I was afraid that people wouldn't understand my situation. It was very difficult, and I was afraid what the reactions. I know when I did eventually come out, I lost my job. The people didn't react the way I thought, so I really struggled, and I also lost some friends. So it isn't easy when you decide to transition, to come out and be truthful to who you are. It takes a lot, and you have to realize that not everything is going to go according to plan. You have to fight, and you have to be strong. I never really thought that I would even have this opportunity to transition. Actually, my transition came about due to two struggles in my dealing with tragedy, and it was hard, but I had to get through them both. My dad's suicide was one, and the death of my best friend was the second. The combination of those two tragedies pushed me into a different way of thinking about my life, changed my perspective. I knew what I needed to do now. I sought out the therapy once again, and I knew that I needed help, and I availed myself of all the resources available to me, and I started to seek medical support, which helped me deal with my gender struggles. I wanted to do everything according to plan and to make sure that I was being treated by a medical professional. I also had to go on a regular basis to a therapist because of my many regular hospitalizations. So I go to a hospital. I've been in the hospital for approximately 12 times, 4 different hospitals, 12 different instances for severe depression and suicide ideation. And it all is the result of my gender dysphoria. So I am trying my best to cope and do everything in my power to be strong and to fight. I think that life is short, and if you're struggling and you want to find your true happiness, you have to really work on you and realize that there's nothing wrong with you if you feel different. You are special and you should be happy. And for me, happiness was knowing that I had to live as a female, and that was the only way. I couldn't do the male thing anymore. You know, I was thrilled, and I still am so happy to have a son and wife, and I will never walk away from my responsibilities. The only thing is I need to be happy, and I cannot live as a male anymore. It was really very hard for me to continue in that direction. It was either be a miserable guy or commit suicide, and the committing suicide seemed more attractive. But the real option that I truly wanted was to transition to become a female. So that looked much more like the plan that I wanted to go with, which I knew since the age of 3. So I think that if you are transgender and you're trying to figure out where you are and what you need to do, you have to get medical help. You need to be in support group. You need to build a support system. You need to find the proper resources to learn and to obtain knowledge and information. YouTube is a good source. Facebook is good because it has many groups. The beauty of YouTube is you learn from other transgender girls who have their own channels and do videos. Facebook is good also because of the multi-related groups, especially the transgender-related groups. And the internet, researching, Google or Bing, you can search for various sites that will give you guidance in transition. One site that I highly recommend is crossdresses.com. That's where I first learned about my struggles, and I think that you would benefit greatly from that. And I think once you decide that you are transgender and you're willing to make those difficult decisions, you have to plan them and be prepared for what can happen. Not everything will work out perfectly, so you have to be prepared, and you have to have a way to deal with that. Unfortunately, there are many tragedies with respect to transgenders transitioning, specifically male to female transgender girls. There have been multiple violent murders, suicides, prostituting, all the negatives. It's very bad. It is not an easy thing to do, transitioning. It's a painful process, emotionally, physically. But if you know in your heart that you're a transgender and you're trying to find the right way to address that, you need the doctors, the therapists. You cannot go on hormone replacement therapy until you get support from a therapist and doctor approval, and that could take a while. For me, it took several months before I got approved to go on hormone replacement therapy. But I was lucky because I kind of bypassed the system, and I got to learn about Callan Ward Community Health Center, where they are more flexible in determining when you can start on HRT. So when I first went there and I spoke to the doctor and I told her my story, she said that we'll see after 3 months, and if I think you're ready, then I'll put you on the hormone replacement therapy. So I was very excited and eager for that to happen. And as promised, to the T, on that 3-month anniversary from when I first met my doctor at Callan Ward, I was placed on hormone replacement therapy, estradiol and spironolactone. So I was very happy, and it's coming up to the 3-year mark now for my HRT, and I've noticed a lot of good changes that I'm very pleased about. I believe that when I'm out in public, I definitely pass pretty well. My only hang-up is my voice, but I'm working on that. But I'm happy that I am addressed as Miss. That really helps me in my self-confidence, and it makes me believe, and it gives me a sense of hope and faith. And I realize that I am a transgender girl, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm very happy and proud of who I am. And all I can tell you is that you will have to do a lot of soul searching. Then you will have to try to figure out how to surround yourself with good people who can help you. Doctors, therapists, friends, professionals. You need to be in support groups. You need to be in therapy. You need to have medical visits. You need to have your blood tested on a regular basis once you go on HRT. And you have to know in your heart that you're doing the right thing. And all can say is that you should learn by sharing. Try to find someone that you can trust to talk to. Never give up. Never lose hope. And always remember that you're not alone. There are many transgender girls in your shoes who are in similar situations. So you'll have to remember that you're not the only one that's transgender. There are quite a few, and that's okay. And you should respect who you are and never lose sight of that. And just be happy and strive for your own happiness and peace. May you be loved by all, Emily. Bye.